What is up, y'all? We are back with another episode of Pushing Buttons. This is episode 22, right? Deuce.
Uh-huh.
Episode Deuce. I am one half of the bromance B. And on my side, I have the other beautiful, lovely, gorgeous. Just look at the skin glowing.
Oh my God.
Other half of this
You got the lights up
bromance, Keith.
What's going on, B?
And then over here, we have the very lovely, very popular, very smart, very tech savvy, very Instagrammable Claudia.
What's up? What's going
And then we are joined by a very, 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 very good friend of mine who has some point of views today that's going to piss some folks off, maybe. He's a very good friend of mine, like I said, and we're glad to have him, and his name is Jimmy.
Hello.
And Jim, you'll be joining us with the shits today. Just joining us to talk some shit, a little bit of politics, a little bit of LGBTQ+, a little bit of B's random thoughts sprinkled right to it. But right before we get to that, I do want to say that we are on all streaming platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and we are on Anchor for your assholes. So go do it. We are on YouTube. Subscribe. Do all that fun shit. Comment, like, go follow the Instagram page. One Pushing Buttons. Claudia does a great job. Shout her out there if you can. Show some love and follow us. And also follow Jimmy's Instagram page. It's Movie Hound.
At Movie Hound.
At Movie Hound.
That's you?
Oh,
Yes.
I love that.
At Movie Hound. Go follow that for all your movie needs.
This whole time I know that.
You what?
I've been talking to him this whole time about movies. Had I known that?
Yeah. He's a big movie person. Like, this is my movie go-to guy.
God, I didn't know that. You should have told us before.
I know.
You wait, they didn't know that I was the Movie Hound?
No, I thought they wanted to keep that like a secret.
Oh.
Well, now the Movie Hound has a face.
Right.
So yes, we are going to start off with B's random thought of the week. And we're going to keep this one nice and short because Claudia gave me a lecture before this podcast and told me,
Very strict.
please,
Took him into the corner.
yes, she said, this can only take up 10% of our episode because you be taking too long, B. So she shut me the fuck up. We're going to get right into it. And my random thought this week, of course, is revolving around relationships again.
That's what you guys love.
Yeah, it is B's Cupid Corner. We're gonna have to rename this section. Anyway, I wanted to see how folks argue with their significant others and about what more frequently. Like what do you argue about the most with your partner? So we'll start with Claudia, and then we'll work our way over here, give our guest a little time to think, and then we'll go over here with Keith, and he'll be last for once. He seems excited, right? So yes, what do we argue about with our significant others about the most, and how quickly does it get resolved? Claudia, go.
Hot seat.
I know. No, I'm
No, I'm
just
joking.
trying to think.
They're in a perfect relationship.
No.
Yeah, are you in the perfect one?
No.
Those
But
don't exist, right?
the thing is that like a big argument.
I didn't say big. I said
He didn't
most.
say
like
big. I said
little
mostly
arguments.
big.
Most
Big.
frequent argument you have
Like
with your
it could
partner.
be small, very petty, small. Like
You don't got one?
any
Should we revolve
differences.
back to you?
Yeah,
You got one,
yeah.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so Jimmy,
That's
what do you
easy.
got?
My biggest problem in my relationship is misunderstandings.
Misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So examples. What is misunderstood in your relationship, Jimmy?
So we're like joking with each other, and I think part of the problem is also his first language is Spanish, my first language is English. So we'll be joking to each other in Spanish. Like the other day we were joking about, I said something about Tampa. I'm from Tampa, Florida, by the way.
Nice. Shout out to Tampa.
Yeah. Tampa Pride, 813. So I was like, oh, we're the lightning capital of the world, which we're not, as Google told me we're definitely not. but for whatever reason we have that reputation. And Nora was like, well, actually, where I'm from in Venezuela and Maracaibo, we're number one, and NASA proved it. And so we were like joking with each other back and forth, and I was supposed to be doing something professional at the time. And that's all I will say. And so he was like, well, aren't you gonna, get back to work? And I was like, well, if you would let me. And I was and we were still, in the same joking thing. And I guess my tone, because I was in one room, he was in another. He didn't appreciate my tone, so he got mad. And then I tried to talk to him later, and then he was ignoring me, and I got mad that he ignored me.
Oh my God. There's a trickle effect of misunderstanding.
Yes. So that was a wrap for the night. I didn't talk to his ass until the next day. I was like, just so you know, we need to fix this, because we've had a lot of misunderstandings before, and we'll fight over the stupidest thing. And we don't really fight a lot.
Yeah.
But whenever we do, it's always over something that is not a big deal, and it's usually because of a misunderstanding, like sense of humor that didn't translate. We're both very sarcastic, but then we'll both think the other person's being serious, so then we'll get offended, and we're getting offended for no reason. And so we had a
effect.
Yes. So we had a come to Jesus about it, and now hopefully going forward we won't, but I can see it happening again.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the relationship world. And Jimmy's married, so welcome to the marriage world.
Yes, I'm married.
Claudia, can we trickle back to you?
Yeah, actually, now that Jimmy said something, it kind of freshened up my memory. It's more over text. I feel like over text message, you don't know the person's tone. Mm-hmm. So whenever you say something, it's like, it depends how it's taken. For me, I hate when people type something out and at the end they do ...
Me too. I hate that. Yes. I hate it.
I like doing ... I'm a ... person for sure.
No.
I hate
what does that mean? What are you trying to say by ...
Exactly. To me, it's like you're upset. Something you're trying to say something, but you can't. Like, what's going on?
Look at the Cubans.
It's almost like saying anyways and like snapping your fingers.
Exactly. So
look at the Cubans go. Look at the Cubans go. Look at them. Look at them.
No, to me.
We gotta relate on that. Me and you.
So to me, that would be the biggest issue. And also, it's funny because my phone, I have an iPhone. I'll admit it sucks. My phone right now is letting me down so many ways. Like, I'll get text messages maybe 30 minutes after they were sent. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times, like, if she sends me a snap, I'll respond to the snap. But how am I going to respond to a message that I haven't gotten? Right. And she's like, so you're responding to Snap, but not my messages? And I'm like, babe, I don't know what you're talking about. But it gets resolved pretty quickly. We try to not go to bed mad at each other. That's kind of a rule.
That's a rule?
Yeah, but there are times when she's just like, I don't want to talk to you. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to talk? No, we're going to talk. Because I like to talk things out. But
you're not allowed to tell that to somebody? You're not allowed to say, I don't want to talk?
No, I know. But I'm the type of person that I'm like, I want to talk it out then and there just to hash it out, but she'd rather just take her time.
What if we talk about it and then I still don't want to talk to you?
That's fine. That's fine. But to me, it's like I want to talk it out. But to be honest, the end result, I do want you to talk. Like, I wouldn't want to, okay, yeah, nice. Thank you for telling me that. Bye.
I'm the same way. Like, I would rather talk it out, get it over with, and then not go to bed angry.
Right.
Norman would rather not talk about it and ignore me. So then I'll ignore him just to like piss him off. And then it's like, it drags on for way too long.
Just arguing.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Not healthy.
Yeah. That's.
I do want to say that there's a new iPhone out, and there's a little conspiracy about when new iPhones come out. The older ones seem to suck.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They did get sued, so
they did. It's not a conspiracy; it's facts.
So just want to throw that out there.
So Apple is a thief.
Yes.
As a company.
Yes. Yes. They're not good people.
That's the lesson.
Right.
Apple is not good people.
Right.
What big company is good people?
Exactly. That's true. That's very true. Apple's shit though. So I shouldn't say that because one day I'm gonna get something and then
it's gonna be
I'm
Apple.
gonna backtrack everything I said. But fuck them. Something that I argue about often in my household is me placing something where I left it for it to be left alone.
Yep.
And then it gets moved.
Yep.
somewhere else because you felt that that's where it belonged. And now I can't find my shit when I'm looking for it, where it was at.
And they forget where they moved it.
Oh, yeah, and then they forget where they fucking put it.
Yep.
How do you forget where you moved my shit?
Yep.
That's insane to me, and I hate that. That is the argument we have all the time because my shit always get moved. Actually, it happened this morning. I was looking for some razors that I had put away for later use because I don't shave my face as often no more. I only shave like the ends of it, so I reuse the razor because why would I throw away a good razor if I haven't used it thoroughly yet? So I saved some, and she moved them. I don't know where they're at. They're probably in the garbage by now, but she moved them. So that's an example of that argument that sparks it, because then I'm like, yo, why'd you move it? And she's like, this is where it's supposed to go. And I'm like, how do you know where my stuff's supposed to go?
Right.
You know? So that's a frequent argument for me.
That's my other thing with he'll move my stuff and then he has the worst memory. I have no idea where I put it. Why did you move it? Because I had it.
What about you, Keith? Give us some black insight to your black
I think
queen.
we're on the same misunderstandings, sarcasticness, and she don't likes when I get quiet because I can't get quiet and not talk at all.
Oh, you get quiet.
Yeah,
Oh
I don't
my
like
God,
to argue.
yeah.
I don't like to argue, so I'll just be quiet the whole time.
Oh.
I'll be quiet for like 30 minutes.
Right.
She said, talk. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
No, for me, it's like sometimes she tends to get quiet just in the sense of it's been a long day and you know how you shut down as a human. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm always talking. I always have something to say. I'm always saying, and sometimes she's just listening and I'm like, hello, like talk to me. But I've come to understand that, you know, I've grown a lot in this relationship, guys. I really have.
Welcome, grown-up Claudia.
Right.
Thanks for joining society.
Right. It was very easy to just like hit it and quit it, but now I'm hitting it, but I'm staying with it, you know. So I'm learning.
Wow. Hey, keeping it real, right?
Yeah. Love.
All right, man. So that was fun. And short. I hope it was short enough for Claudia.
It was.
I swear, she sent me a message. She was like, shut up, dude. It's going to take too long. My thoughts always start like a trickle effect of us continuing to talk for 30 minutes, and half the episode is my thought. So we're going to move right along. Chugging right along. The next topic we have here is a very spicy one that actually Jimmy introduced to us, and we're going to talk about it. Actually, Claudia had talked about this as well at some point that she wanted to bring this up a while back, and it's funny that Jimmy is now joining us for the episode. So, what two perfect people to have here for this topic, right? So what we're talking about is homophobia in the latinx community, or Latinx. That's the proper way to do it. We've kind of turned it into a mockery here on Pushing Buttons. Yeah. So latinx, fuck you guys, cry about it.
You don't care.
I'm easing them into that world, Keith. Remember, I'm easing them into that world, right?
You really are.
Yeah. So homophobia in the latinx community, right? Why do we think homophobia in the Latin community exists? The Latinx community, so the Latino community. Why do we think it exists, you guys? Why do we think it exists in our culture?
It exists in my culture too.
It exists in the black culture. So,
of course.
All right.
I think macho chauvinism and misogyny has a little bit to do with it.
So machismo.
Yes.
Machismo. Are Cuban men like macho men?
Well, as a Cuban American, and Claudia as a natural born Cuban, I think can attest, yes. And again, only in the 2020 world, I'm only speaking from my experience. I can't speak to other Latino countries or their experience, but in my perception, that's I think they're connected. I think they're heavily connected.
No, true, Claudia.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I
Cuban
totally
men
agree.
are very macho men.
Yeah.
Yep, same thing in the Mexican culture. I think men are very
Same thing with black
people.
Yeah,
It's a machismo thing. You think?
machismo. Yeah,
I mean, it's not
manly type thing.
Yeah, manly. Machismo, not so much, right? Manly, right?
Yeah.
So, why do we think this exists in our cultures?
Is there a difference between manly and machismo, or is it
It's
like
probably the same thing.
I think it's the same thing.
It's like the
I
same.
think
manly
it's
is just
about
the
same.
English version of machismo.
Machismo.
But machismo is English, right? So
Yeah,
technically, right? That's
Macho
a-
chauvinism.
yeah, macho. So like, why do we think those exist in our culture?
Why is the male dominant?
Yeah.
Why is it?
Is it? Do you
automatic?
think it's like something that's instilled in our culture from back then, or is it something that is?
It's instilled when you're growing up too.
I think it's the human species,
Yeah.
you know, and I think other cultures and other countries have adapted to it not being like that. And for whatever reason in our culture it is, even though in Cuba, which is a communist country and everyone's supposed to be equal, it's not, because, you know, but the interesting thing, at least from my perspective, because I tend to get along with women better than men, so I tend to pay attention more to the women, and they play right along into the macho chauvinism. Like, they criticize the women, they play along with the men, they laugh with them at the jokes and at the misogyny, and it was always kind of shocking to me. I'm like, why would you? But I think they did it just because it was so part of the culture. It was just like normal to them, you know.
But do you think it's because they want it to be like that? Like, some women likes to be dominated. That's why I'm asking.
Like
Yeah.
do they want to be dominated? I don't
That's
know.
what I'm asking. I don't know.
Claudia, do you think?
What do you,
Because some
wait,
women
what do you
likes
mean?
to like when men.
Yeah,
That's why I'm asking.
So do you think it's not so much because it seems like sometimes in society we often point the finger at the man, right?
Right, mhm.
As it pertains that the man is the person, right? But also
Yeah.
I think what Keith is trying to say is that
the
the
woman
woman
can
plays a part
and it's
into
not
it
always-
because the woman wants the man
Wants
to
it.
be
Yeah.
more manly.
Yeah. Like,
So-
if you're not manly, then I don't want you. Why?
Oh,
Right.
well, no, I mean, to be honest, I totally
Yeah.
see where you're coming from, because there's been so many instances, especially with women and having conversations with women, where, let's say, even just the idea of dating, right? It's like you have this nice, sweet guy willing to do anything. I don't want him because he's a pushover.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like, well, maybe that's what you need, because the asshole is not working out.
Nah,
Right.
yeah. That's what I was
But
getting at, yeah.
but that's, you know, and regarding to even women going along with the conversations that a lot of times men have, that normally if you really look at it, you'd side eye it. A lot of times I see it as a level of you're uncomfortable, but you're
Yeah.
gonna play along with it because you don't want to be put in a place where you'd be attacked.
You want to belong.
You want to be able to belong. You want to
Right.
be able to just
Okay.
right.
sit there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not contradict anything. Like, you don't want to stir
'Cause you don't want
anything
the
up,
attention to come to you.
basically.
basically.
So you rather just go with the flow.
Yeah, I think what you said about like women not wanting a man that's not macho as their partner, I think is also part of the homophobia, because I
Yeah.
think it's also like, damn, you're effeminate. You like, you know, things that females like, so I don't want you as a man. And it doesn't matter if his sexual orientation is straight or gay. It's just more like, you're not macho enough for me. So it's almost like with straight guys, like, if you're not tough enough, then I don't want you as my man, you know? And I see that too. I think another thing, at least with Latin American culture, that feeds into the homophobia is religion, because a lot of Latin American countries are extremely religious. Cuba is history with religion's a little different because
Different,
Castro
yeah.
got rid of it in the 1950s, so a lot of people didn't practice religion.
Yeah.
Like, I actually didn't grow up
Oh, they
religious.
got rid of religion. Holy shit!
Like, you couldn't
Yeah.
practice it legally. Like,
Right.
you could get arrested for
Like
it.
in North Korea.
Yeah, he controlled it until it was convenient for him to have Pope John Paul II in the 90s come to Cuba and bring a whole bunch of money and attention and press.
Right.
You know, so then he like opened the gates, but it was like 40 something years with like no religion being practiced, except for people doing it in secret in their homes and stuff like that. But my parents weren't a part of that. And when they actually moved to the US, you know, and the church was like, oh, you have to give me 10% of your paycheck. My dad was like, fuck that. We're not going to church. So, like, I didn't grow up with religion at all, and homophobia was still super present. So, in my view, it's been more attached to this, like, macho mentality. If you're not man enough, then you're not worth my time, you know?
So how about in the black communities, Keith? Is it similar to that? Do you
Yeah.
think it exists from like back in the day, or is it something that kind of evolved as
Yes.
time went on?
No, it's still the same kind of like. I grew up in like it's not cool to be like
Feminine?
Like, yeah, feminine. It's not really cool. Like, you like we used to use words like but gay or faggot, and those were like derogatory words. Like if you were called one of those, you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. So that's why, and it's still present to this day.
So do you guys think, like, in a 2020 world, both Cuban and Black perspective, do you think it's still religion or macho,
I
or
didn't go
macho
with religion
chauvinism?
either. I'm not religious at all.
Okay.
And
Still saw it.
It's still saw it. Yeah.
So probably more machismo.
Yeah, it's
then.
more. It's more.
Yeah.
It's not, I didn't have religion at all.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. For me, it's more of a machismo thing. And I think from my perspective as my dad being an Afro-Cuban man, I know that at least for a Black man, there is that sense of strong masculinity. And so even just the idea of being feminine, it's out of the picture.
Yeah.
And even for women, let's say Cuban women, when they assume like, oh my God, she's with a woman, she's probably turned into this butch, short hair, when, those are the assumptions that are being made.
Yeah.
Because I do recall back in the island when, people found out, I'm not going to fucking hide myself. They were like, oh my God, but they're both so feminine. And your point is, because they have ideas and expectations due to that idea of that feeds into homophobia, and I do want to touch a little bit on religion, because I think that religion is something that I've noticed the impact that it has on homophobia in the LGBTQ plus community as an adult, and finally coming out. And it's that idea of, to me, the Bible was written by people.
Right.
People.
Exactly.
God did not write the Bible,
Nope.
So to me, it's more like, no, you're putting judgment on me. However, the Bible does say somewhere in there, don't judge thou neighbor or whomever.
Yeah.
But here we are judging one another based on who we are, based on our sexual preferences, based on who we love. So I definitely do think that in our society, one, it's the machismo, and two, it's the religion. Religion has a big role to do with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I agree, right? So both religion, I think it's more religion. I think it's both religion and just the man's. You got to be a man's man, right? And it plays a part in society a lot that way, right? So my question being, right, I'm surprised that the LGBTQ community hasn't attempted to create their own version of religion, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where it includes that. Like, it's surprising to me. I don't know how many members of that community are religious. Right?
Yeah.
But it seems to me like some of us, right, do care about that aspect of it, right? So it's surprising to me that we haven't attempted to at least, I don't know, create your own LGBTQ Bible. I don't know, right? Or something along those lines. I don't know if it exists. You guys can put me on or put me on to something that I might not know about that maybe does or doesn't exist, right? But it seems to me like there's some type of want to be accepted by that community, right? Because we all, at the end of the day, that's what we want, right? To be accepted by that community, right? So it's surprising to me that we haven't attempted to, at least, or they haven't, not me, because...
Well, I know that in Christianity, at least, there are certain churches that accept and allow, and are big about allowing gay members.
So, but doesn't that like counter?
Yeah.
That's what I'm...
Well,
Like, doesn't it play into the hypocrisy of the Bible more than it already is?
Probably, but I mean, also Jesus said not to judge other people. So, I mean, people pick and choose what they want from the Bible all the time.
Right.
Exactly.
But there's also like, we're keeping it strictly to the Bible, right? And there's also other religions where it specifically says you can't.
Can be...
Yeah.
You can't be gay. You can't be lesbian. You can't be this. You can't be that, right? It specifically says that. So, it's, like...
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how they would go about changing that.
Yeah. You make a good point, and that's one of the reasons why me and religion don't we don't go together. It's because of that hypocrisy. It's kind of like, yes, I accept you. Like, yes, welcome. You know, we want to make sure that everyone knows that our church is inclusive and that we're welcoming people from the community. However, behind closed doors, it's still that idea of no.
They're
The
not one of
only
us, right?
form of marriage is a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you could be together. We respect that.
Right.
But we're not going to put you on the same level as a heterosexual couple.
Oh,
So that to me, it's like,
But
no, you're still minimizing me.
minimizing
So
somebody.
fuck you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like my community, right? Like I'm just
Right.
surprised. Like they're so involved in a lot of other things, and for some reason that one they're just like nah.
Well, I mean, for me, it's hard to relate to religion because I didn't grow up religious. So I've also always looked at religion as a little bit of brainwashing. So I think if you're conditioned to believe that this is the way life is supposed to be, and this is who you're supposed to pray to, and this is how you're supposed to live, then you might see the world differently than someone who didn't grow up with that at all. And was just told to be a good person, do to others as you want them to do to you, you know, have respect, have manners, you know, and that's the only thing that I was taught from my parents over and over again is just try to be a good person, don't get in trouble, you know. It wasn't about a religious, you know, they never like, you know, scolded me with God. And actually as a kid, I almost rebelled against my parents and I wanted to be in church. And I remember I had these like churchy neighbors and I went to church with them because I was like, oh my God, this is like so foreign to me. This is so fun. I don't know why I thought that, but I was also like 8, you know. And it was just like every time I went, I don't remember what they said. It was just boring, you know. And then I was like, oh, well, thank God I didn't have to do this because.
All right, so
Can I pose a question?
Yeah,
What if you know somebody that's like, you know them as a good person, but they are like homophobic? But besides that,
okay. So
you
hold
know
that.
them as a
okay,
good
so,
person.
So hold that. That's exactly what I'm trying to segue into.
Okay.
Right. So that's what I'm exactly trying to segue into, which is, have we encountered that in our own circles, right? And in our own families and in our own everything, right? So in your families or in your circles of people you know, have we encountered this? And what do we do about it? Are we outspoken about it? Do we just kind of like, yo, don't say that around me? Do we cut people off? What exactly are we doing in our circles for that? Keith?
I don't necessarily stop them from doing it because I mean it's not affecting me. Like I just brush it off. I don't agree with them, but I don't necessarily say stop. I just hear it and it goes in one and out the other.
So you don't really intervene,
I don't really intervene
or say anything
because I don't.
So what happens if you were to be next to a person who is? Would you still not say something? Or
I don't know. I've never been in that circumstance. I don't know.
That's fair.
I've never been in a circumstance where I knew somebody was homophobic and there was a gay person in the same room. I didn't know that. Or I know the person wouldn't necessarily lash out to them anyway because that's not respectful anyway. Like the person that was homophobic, they wouldn't necessarily
say it out
there,
open.
knowing there was a gay person in the room or a homophobe.
Right.
They wouldn't necessarily do it in front of them.
Right.
They only do it when they think it's heterosexual people in the same room.
Jimmy?
I just shut them out and ignore them. I mean, I don't have time for you.
Is your family?
It's like the elephant in the room that they don't want to talk about. You know, like my mom's accepting. She loves my husband, and you know, she accepted me. But like I have so many relatives, though. You know, like my family's so huge. I don't have time to care if like a random cousin is homophobic. I don't care. You know, and I don't talk to them anyway, probably because I didn't grow up with most of my family around me. And then some of the family that's moved to Florida that I know, some of them are homophobic, some of them aren't. You know, I like the people I like. I like a small pool because I think the way I grew up being a very effeminate gay kid, as you know, when I was younger, it was a little rough. So a long time ago, just learned to like shut them out and ignore them.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
How many straight friends do you have?
A lot, actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And are they do they say homophobic things?
No.
In their own circles? That you're aware of?
That I'm aware of, no. But I mean, it's mostly straight females, and in my experience, females are less homophobic than men. So, but the straight men that I have as friends, yeah, I'm sure they've made a joke like forever ago, but they've never, done anything to me where it's made me uncomfortable or been disrespectful.
Right.
So I don't care.
What about you, Claudia?
I call people out. I don't care.
Really?
I'll call people out. I think we had this conversation in a couple podcasts ago of someone that I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't care. I'll call people out. If if we're friends. If I don't know you and you're some random person on the street, like I'm not gonna go and
Wasting
like
energy,
right. I'm
time.
like, I don't know if you got a gun on you or a knife, and you're gonna like, I don't know. So if I know you, I'll call you out. If I don't know you, again, one ear out the other. And regarding people close to me, I mean, my family, it took them a while to adjust, but they support me, they respect me, and that's all that matters. Because again, they knew I don't have time for that. I will cut you out. Like, I don't have time for that. People in my personal life, such as friends, I haven't heard anything from anyone. Everyone's been very respectful, very welcoming of my relationship with, my significant other. But I do know someone who's very open about, I don't agree with a woman and a woman getting married or a man and a man getting married. And it's more of the sense like, you're still a cool person. Those are your ideas. I'm not your best friend. I'm not going to be your friend. We'll hang out possibly like once or twice a year. You're not going to be invited to my wedding, It's that simple, right? Like, we don't have to be like together all the time.
Why do we cut off people like that? Like, why do we cut... I'm going to play devil's advocate.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Why do we cut people off when their views are a little bit skewed and they can be respectful? So in a sense, why does your relationship with a person fall back as soon as you know about their ideals and beliefs or their just views of how they view life in general? Like, why do we have to cut folks off immediately? What happens to the idea of somebody just believing what they believe in, and then if they're respectful, then we keep it pushing, right? We keep it respectful, right? Because I'm sure I have friends who I don't 100% agree with on what they believe in, right? Or what they whatever, right? We have a couple in common. We probably don't agree on the same thing. I'm willing to sit and have a conversation, and if you're willing to have it with me without trying to rip my head off, then let's have it. But I find it hard sometimes, maybe because I'm not going through what some folks are going through in their everyday things. I mean, but I struggle with certain things too, right? But I'm just saying, like, I don't know why we cut people off. Because I have friends who I don't necessarily agree with the way they act or the way they do certain things. I don't immediately cut them off. I keep them for the most part wherever they're at. You know what I'm saying? We hang out sometimes we don't. But I'm not cutting you off completely just because, you know what I'm saying, you don't agree with me on one thing or two things, If we can keep it respectful, then cool. But why do we do that?
And I mean, I totally agree. And with what I was mentioning regarding this particular person, this is more of a personal thing. Like, this is the person I am with. This is a person I'm in a relationship with.
And we're back. Go ahead, Claudia.
So what I was saying about this specific person that I was talking about, it's more of, this is my relationship. This is the person I love. And me knowing that you don't agree with that aspect, I'm going to cut you off, because I'm aware that for me, a friend is someone that I'm able to bring my significant other around. Someone that I'm able to be my 100.
What if you can, though? Like, what if you can bring that person around and I can be respectful?
Here's the thing, though. It's like, once I bring my significant other around, that's like for me, it's a whole other level of intimacy within the friendship.
Yeah.
And it's more of like, if I'm bringing my significant other around, most likely you're going to be invited to the wedding. You're going to be invited to this. You're going to be, when in reality, I'm not going to, for what? Why would I invite you to a wedding?
Yeah.
So
If you don't exactly, so I'm
We can
not.
skip that.
But
We can-
here's the thing.
skip that
But
part, is
here's
what
the
I'm
thing.
saying.
I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable and not like hold my significant other's hand or kiss my significant other because
Right.
this other person has this belief, and I'm not trying to deal with faces.
Right. But what if they, like, you see, you're trying to misunderstand what I'm trying to say. Like, they're not making faces, right? They're not saying like, ew. They're not doing any of that, right? They simply don't agree with it. And that's it. You can be your person. You can be whatever you want to be around this person, right?
Right.
I know that's like a particular person that's going to take to do, right? It's not everybody, but I'm just speaking
Right.
if that were to be the possibility, you know what I'm saying? Like, would what happened?
A screw fell off.
Oh my god! Would y'all stop messing with the microphones? We'll keep this in there.
I've been holding my hands like this. Like, okay.
But it's just like, that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, how do you? I just don't understand it. To me, maybe it's just because I'm not going through it. You know what I'm saying? And I guess sometimes you gotta go through shit to understand it.
I think in order to, if you're only respectful to me but you're kind of against me because you're kind of against fundamentally who I am, then we're not really friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Jim.
Like,
So if I was a Trump supporter, you guys would cut me off?
That's different.
no,
No.
because
That's
that's
different, B.
different.
Yeah, no.
That's different. But like, if you're
How's it different?
because if you're homophobic, you're against my being. Like, you're against the way that I
So
live.
what is homophobic?
Homophobic is someone who doesn't accept a gay relationship.
Let's look it up. Go ahead.
Or same-sex
Talk about it.
relationships.
Yeah.
Let me look this shit up. What homophobic
Or
is.
LGBT
LGBTQ,
relationships.
right,
Because I
anything.
guess that's, they're not always
LGBTQ,
same-sex.
Right, exactly. That's what essentially
But
homophobia
what you
is.
said, like voting for somebody is different than somebody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Doing this
You
all
and
the
your-
time. This is who I
Like
am.
that's who
But
I
that's
am
just
as
who
a
you
human.
voted for.
See, it says
Right.
having or showing dislike or prejudice against gay people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
But if
But I'm
you
not
smile
actively-
to my face and then, get grossed out behind my back, then what's the point of me being friends with you?
I mean, you're not gonna know whether they got grossed out or not, right?
Right, but I think with like actual like real friendship, there's a level of trust and understanding. And if we don't have that, they're not really friends. I mean, I can get along with you. I can work with you. When I go to see my family, I can have dinner with you and we can talk for a minute, but it doesn't mean I'm going to call you and text you and rely on you as a person in my life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
And something also, and this is again about the same person, and this is the moment I
This person is
this is
Oh no!
this person, man, is listening to this podcast. Like, man, is it me?
and this is the moment I realized, like, yes, I need to set those boundaries. We have a friend in common. And so this friend once I don't think she did it intentionally, but she kind of disclosed, we were talking about religion, and she disclosed how they got into a very heated conversation because this person just kept saying, like, no, if, the Bible says that it's a man and a woman. Like same sex, that's a sin. That's a sin. So in my head, I'm here thinking like, so then that's what you're thinking about my relationship. I don't mind interacting with you, catching coffee, like having coffee with you, catching up whenever you'd like, but I'm not going to go out of my way. I respect you as a human. Thank you for respecting me in a way as a human. But for what? What am I going to do to try and really build a friendship with this person?
Yeah.
I think we ask too much of folks.
I don't
In what
think
way?
so.
I think we ask too much of folks, and then I think a lot of times what we want can come off as fake, right? And I don't think it can be. Sometimes, like it can't. I don't think people can keep it genuine. You know what I'm
But
saying?
okay, if you're let's say that Keith, he's your really good friend, right?
Yeah.
And Keith is very
Really good friend and my brother and best friends are two different things.
okay. Let's say that
It is.
Yeah.
let's say that a random like a friend, someone you just met,
Yeah.
right? And they all of a sudden are like, you know what? His girlfriend's kind of a bitch. Like I don't like yours, right? Like, I don't like her, this and that. Like, you know, and they're just,
Right.
and they're kind of talking crap, and you're aware of it. And then they're kind of like, but you know what? I guess I'll deal with it because we're friends. And then behind your back, you guys have, let's say, someone in common. And then you keep hearing, well, this person still thinks this and this and
but
this.
now you're adding an
they're-
insane amount of folks to the equation.
Exactly. It's the same thing with...
No. I'm only asking about one person. I'm not asking about a trickle effect. You get what I'm saying? So now the scenario is changing, right? Now you're adding that this one person is talking to multiple people.
No, I'm saying
You get
to
what I'm
the
saying?
one friend. Let's say you guys have a friend in common, just to that one person, not multiple, just that one person. And it's like, so
Okay,
this
let them
person,
talk about it.
huh?
Let them talk about it.
So you wouldn't care that of
I mean,
someone
like,
you
oh
consider
shit, you don't like her. I mean, what do you want me to do?
right? But then you wouldn't bring. Would you bring her around this person? Would you invite this person to
It all
your
depends on
wedding?
what we're doing. I mean, if we're in a big circle and we're all around, be like, yo, babe, these motherfuckers don't fuck with you, and you probably don't fuck with them because that's how my girlfriend is. Yo, whatever, right?
I think that's a little different though.
Yeah, right.
Because like being homophobic, I think you're also against me though, you know? So if you don't like my husband, okay, whatever. But if you don't like me and my whole lifestyle.
They're not saying that they don't like you. That's what I'm saying. It's one thing about what you do that they don't like.
But that's who you are as a person.
It's hard to trust someone that fundamentally has an issue with you unless you gave birth to me, unless you're my sister, unless you know what I'm saying, like unless we go way back and it cuts deep. If I just met you, why would I have to put up with you like that? You know,
Well, that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Draw the line within what your friends are.
Right. Like I think for, you know, parents, family, you know, that kind of thing,
That's
you can
different.
accept it and like move on.
So how come we're able to do that?
Because they've been.
What we able to do with family rather than a stranger?
Why can't we do that with family? They're against everything you believe.
You can't.
So why can't we just be like, well, fuck it?
But family is different than a friendship. A friendship is someone that you can call up and vent to,
is
or
it
text
different?
message, or, you know, your relationship is a little bit different than you do have with like your family. I mean, you know, just speaking from my own experience. I mean, I don't treat my friends the way I treat my family. It's like a little bit different. Like there's
Really?
with my
Some
family.
friends can be closer than family.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like I feel closer to a lot of my friends than I do to a lot of my family. And I share way more than I do with my close friends than I do with family.
Well, that's always the case, right? With everybody, for the most part.
Some people I know, like
Unless you have
their
like, I think
mom
the
is
only
their best
time-
friend.
I think the
or-
only time that it really happens sometimes, yeah, it's either you're really close to your parents or you're really close in age to your siblings. But other than that, for the most part, I think the majority of people speak to their friends, and their friends probably know them better than their family.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You know
can
what
see
I'm saying?
that.
So why can't we do that? Why can't we just cut family off? That if you're telling me your friend is more knows more about you.
I mean, speaking from my own experience, I have cut family off though. Like when I got married, we went to Vegas and did a wedding over there, and I invited very little people, so that way I wouldn't have to put up with like the nonsense and the fakeness of people being against it and like talking shit. It's like I don't deal with you. I don't do that unless we're genuine. I don't really want to fuck with you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be around you. You know what I mean? I don't really see the point of this relationship. So like if I go to Tampa and I see one of my cousins that I know is a little homophobic, I can say hi to her. I can say, hey, how are you? How have you been? How's your family? And that's it. But that's it. And then I probably won't talk to you again for a year. You know what I mean? I can do that. I can totally be cordial and respectful. I don't have to like outwardly hate you, but I don't have to invite you in my life either.
I don't know. I'm confused. But
About what?
that's okay. It's just I don't know. It seems like there's we don't. To me, I just want it to be even, right? I guess that's the Libra in me. If you're a zodiac-ish person, right?
I'm a Libra, but
That's scary.
I think right. I'm a Libra, but
Right,
to
that's
be
what I'm saying.
honest,
That's why I said if you're zodiac-ish.
right? For me, family. As much as I love my friends, I've always grown up with like family first.
Right, but if they're going against everything you believe in, then it shouldn't be that hard,
would
right?
be no, and that's
I
what
get what you're saying,
and here's what I was gonna say next. It's like it's okay, and we need to normalize the fact that you can cut family members off. However, having to cut, I don't know what it's like, but having to say, listen, I don't want you in my life to the two people that created you, that can be easy.
No.
We need to. What we need to do is normalize that people have different beliefs and ideals and
Right.
ideas of what your perspective.
But if
that's what we need to. That's what we need to normalize.
But if those ideals and ideas affect you mentally and emotionally, it's
Yeah.
okay to say.
no, that's what
we're
I'm saying.
done.
But we should be able to normalize. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
and we
you
don't.
do-
I don't think we do.
You do by cutting them off. like, okay,
Right, but
I
then
respect that. Bye.
but then that person goes. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the trickle effect. Then that person, not you. I'm just saying a person, right? Who doesn't agree with somebody else, right? And then they cut that person off. You go back and then you talk shit. So you're doing the exact same thing that they were doing. You get what I'm saying? So now we're just in a domino effect of different beliefs. You get what I'm saying? Like you're now you're talking shit about that person's beliefs.
Yeah, but I mean,
But we don't see it. But we don't see it that way, right? But now you're talking shit about somebody else's beliefs, and that, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's engraved in you from your age, right, or your age to be a certain way, right? And then you grow up, and then you kind of find yourself, right? And then you want people to accept that portion of you, right? Why can't we like? That person grew up the same way, different way, and they have their own beliefs, and that's innate in them. That's what they grew up with. That's what they know, and like. And we sit here, and oftentimes we don't look at the other side, right? And we sit like I think I stress this enough on the podcast is that we don't look at the other side, and I think sometimes we get carried away, and it can be a little selfish. We're selfish. We're selfish, and that's okay to say.
I don't want to speak from anyone else's perspective, but let's just say I know someone who's LGBT, and that's literally his relationship with his family is they aren't down with the gay thing, but they still have a good relationship. They put that to the side, and he still has a good relationship. Is he incredibly close with every single one of them? No, but they're still his like world, so he makes it. And I think for a lot of LGBT people, I mean, unless you want to be like totally alone and abandoned, which a lot of LGBT people are, you know, you kind of just have to accept them for who they are. And they also have to take the work onto themselves and accept you for who you are, even if they still have differences.
Well, that's what I'm trying
you
to,
know.
that's what I'm trying to.
So, I mean, for me personally, I'm like, fuck you, I don't want to deal with it. But for other people, they have to accept them and move on and live their life with dealing with it on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on the fuck you boat.
Yeah.
I don't know because I can't really say because I don't have that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's different for me, but I do. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why it's hard to talk about things, right? Because it's hard to not to talk about something and then minimize somebody else's struggle, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's hard. We might not know the LGBTQ struggle, right? But we struggle with other things,
Right.
That other folks that you might not suffer, right? Or that community might not suffer from. So it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to talk about it without trying to minimize somebody else's struggle, right?
Yeah.
So
What age did you come out at with your family?
I think I was 21. I was an adult already.
I was 19. And I mean, just imagine living 19 years of your life trying to constantly hide who you are because you're terrified of them turning on you and telling you to fucking hit the street because that's what happened to a lot of LGBT people. And it's hard. It was literally scary. Like I remember I was like terrified when I told my mom finally, but I had already accepted myself enough where I was like, if this goes the wrong way, then I guess
it goes the wrong way. Yep.
then I have to deal with it. Thankfully, she accepted me and loved me and moved on. But that didn't mean that my entire family did. You know, she was one person. And she was really, honestly, for me, the only person I cared. Like, if the rest of them didn't care, I was like, whatever. But as long as she was like, okay, then I was like, okay, I guess I'm okay. Like, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me.
Yeah,
You had some?
I totally
Yeah,
agree.
Jimmy, I got a question. I don't want to minimize what you said, but you said 19 years. So that would mean you were new from the first moment you lived. You knew.
You're right. Wow, maybe not. All right.
I don't want to say
Keep with the technicalities. Yeah.
Right.
It grows up and it's instilled after a certain period of time.
Yeah. I mean, I think from, like, for
I think that's
me...
a separate conversation, right?
It is.
It is.
Born.
Maybe it's not
man or
19
woman or
years
something like that.
because I also denied it to myself for a really long time. And I was like, oh, I'm bi. I'm bisexual. I was not bisexual.
Okay.
I never, thank God, I never even bothered because I think I also knew...
because you were instilled to think the other way, so you didn't know which side to believe in.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fear in me was like, I grew up thinking that everything I did was wrong, that everything I was wrong.
See?
And I was constantly told to my face, what's wrong with you? Why do you act like a woman? Why do you talk that way? Why do you act that way? Why are you interested in this stuff? From an extremely early age, it was just instilled to me. And I mean, it, you know, as an adult, I think I looked at it back and I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of mental abuse, because they were trying to like change who I was instead of just
they do,
supporting
That's
who
what
I am, you know, but, you know, so yeah, it's probably not 19 years. It's less. It's less.
I know, but I just want to.
Right. But I think my mom knew since I was at least 2 or 3, because I used to walk around in her shoes.
Okay.
And they thought it was the cutest, funniest thing in the world
'cause you're a kid,
until I was like 7 or 8, and I was still doing it. And they're like, it's not cute anymore, you know.
See? I wonder when is that line? Do parents think it's not cute anymore?
And you know, the funny thing is, my dad, who was very macho, was more like, whatever, he's a kid, it's he like didn't pay attention to it. But my mom would like yell at me and scare me, and I would have to go and
we're back again. So we're gonna move right along. It's gonna be short. We gotta keep it short and sweet because we fucked up. and we got caught up in the homophobia and all that, and just the LGBTQ stuff. So we're gonna move right along, and we're gonna talk about a little bit about why Cubans and Venezuelans voted for Donald Trump. So a little bit of some more election talk for you fuckers. You guys are not fuckers. Please listen to our podcast. But yeah, just a little bit about why Cubans and Venezuelans voted for Trump. And so Jimmy is again the author to this topic. And so because Jimmy wanted to shed some light on this, Jimmy, why did Cubans and Venezuelans, because he's speaking for his partner as well. His partner is Venezuelan, and he's Cuban, so he would like to kind of expand on it, and maybe Claudia can also add her 2 cents to it from her perspective as well. So, Jimmy, why did they vote for him?
Well,
I do have to say, Nerwin hates Donald Trump. That's my husband. So he, both countries coming from a dictatorship and a socialist communist takeover. When Democrats kind of spread the agendas of socialism, and it's not just Cuban and Venezuelan Latinos. A lot of Latinos have dealt with it in South America. Yep. Of course, I'm not speaking from their perspective. I'm only speaking from my own. But, they just see that as, why did I flee from my country and then come here and vote for the guy that wants to do the same thing, essentially, you know? So I think, the idea of that the liberals were pushing on Joe Biden's side of, if you vote for Trump, you're racist. If you vote for Trump, you're homophobic. If you vote for Trump, you're a misogynist. That's not necessarily the case with certain Latinos who voted for Trump. I'm not saying they're not all, I mean, some of them may be racist or homophobic or, what we just talked about, homophobia. So they may have those views too, but that's not the reason why they voted for Trump. They just they saw a vote for Trump as against socialism, and they see socialism and communism as something that's bad.
I also want to add to that, right? I did read somewhere that I think it said 58% of Cubans turned out to vote. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a high ass number. Anyway, and it was a lot of folks, right? And then also just a lot of other categories, like Mexicans, I think was on there at 40%. Mm-hmm. Then there was other like Venezuelan and other Southern American countries all the Central American countries that voted for Trump at a very high rate for some reason, right? And I think I also read somewhere that Donald Trump pushed that agenda, right? That Joe Biden and the Democrats were basically pushing for socialism and communism, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then so that spread the fear into these communities of folks who come from those countries, and it kind of started propaganda and fake news. Essentially, is what it turned into, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I was talking to about a while back, where we don't realize how much these social media companies have control over the elections nowadays, right? I read somewhere that a lot of these posts were viewed on some very popular apps that a lot of Hispanic people and a lot of Latinos and Latinx people use, right? So it was like Facebook, WhatsApp, all these like, common apps that Latinos tend to use, because I've seen it. Like my mama can't stay off Facebook.
Yeah.
And they use that, right? And that's one of the reasons why what's his name was on trial, was because he was using his platform, Facebook, as a machine to kind of skew votes, I guess you could say, right? And so, like, you see what it did now. Like in Florida, it was red, right? This time,
Yeah.
it was red, and then Miami-Dade was like a big reason as to why he won that state, right? Because the majority of the people that turned out to vote for him, and the majority of that were Latinos that came out to vote.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? The power of just that, right? That he used. It's crazy. I don't know. I saw black people on there too. I don't know why they voted for him. You don't have the slightest idea why.
No, I don't.
I mean, and I think going back to individuals who come from a communist country and had to flee a communist country, it's the trauma behind it. There's a lot of trauma with being in Cuba. It truly is. Was I impacted by it? No, I was too young to know what was going on around me. But I see it on my parents. I see it on my grandparents. However, though, I don't know what the difference is between the people who came in the 80s and the 90s and like those different generations. But there is a difference. And I feel like those who came a little bit more in the 90s, or people like my parents, it was mostly, or even myself, we have a nostalgic feeling towards the island. Like, we don't have a hatred, which is what I feel that a lot of the older Cuban individuals have. It's that hatred, and it's that misunderstanding, misconception, uneducated views. And then when someone such as Trump and all his agenda is pushed on him, when a lot of the media down in Florida, even, they said, yeah, we did push this agenda of communism. Like, yes, this is going to become a communist country.
Right.
That's how we sucked people in. And so imagine you're playing with people's trauma, and that's the part that fucked me up. It's like, you don't do that. You do not do that. Yeah.
My mom is 76. My dad's gonna be 84 in next month. They had me when they were older. My mom was in her 40s, and my dad was 50 when I was born. So they lived through a pre-Castro Cuba, and my mom actually grew up with money. And so when Castro took over and they took their land and took everything they had away from them, not only did she go through the trauma and her whole family, but she saw what it did to her parents. And so the burning rage of anger she has against that communist country is why she votes Republican. It's just because she just sees the Democrats and she's like, no. And she likes what the Republican agenda is as far as money. That doesn't mean that she's like, against gay marriage or against a lot of the social things that Democrats are for. She just, and like you said, Trump did kind of scare them into, oh, well, they're going to turn this into a communist country. So everybody freaked out and, voted for him. Well, I mean, he tried to get some votes. Obviously, he didn't win the election, thank God.
He did?
Yeah.
But, wow.
Count the votes. Count the votes.
Right. But
I think he won now officially, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He just conceded, right? So, yeah.
He
but
did?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think he would.
Today, apparently, right? That's what I heard. Today he conceded.
Was it today?
I think it was today, or if it was recent. It was either today or yesterday.
I didn't think he would.
Yeah.
Oh.
it's about time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think people don't, I don't think Cuban history is taught in American history, you know what I mean? Like
At
in
all.
school, you're not really, other than the Cuban Missile Crisis, they're
In
not
school,
even.
What are we taught? We taught the white way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not
Basically.
taught anyway.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. You want to talk about exclusion, man.
The Columbus way.
Exactly.
You wanna talk about
that's the way
Right.
we.
You want to talk about exclusion, man. I don't know. Sometimes That would get me in trouble if I said what I want to say, but I just want to say Mexicans are not included in jack shit. And yeah,
They're not.
I just want to say that we're not included in anything. And then the moment we come out and speak out, they're like, nah, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Us first, then you. So, but that's how I view it. I mean, that's what they do, and that'll be a different conversation for a different day when we're willing to talk about it, and people aren't gonna try to bash me and kill me for it because that might end up canceling us. So, I guess I'm glad we talked a little bit about it, right? Just a little bit, touched on it just a bit because we got carried away. So we do have to cut this episode off now. We've reached the point where we've gone too far. With a couple hiccups and mishaps, this episode wasn't that bad. I do want to say thank you, Jimmy, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming here, talking some shit, kicking some shit with us. It was nice to see a different point of view and a little insight into the LGBTQ community. Not so much for me and Keith today, but it was a lot more for our guest and Claudia.
Why would it be? We're not.
Yeah. But, we can still say something about it.
We did. We said what we thought.
Yeah. You're right, Keith. You're right.
Okay, Keith.
You're right, Keith. We're not going to fight on camera. You're right.
We're not going to fight? Okay.
No. So I do want to say that we are on all streaming platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and we are on Anchor for your ass. We're also on YouTube. Go subscribe. Go follow the page, One Pushing Buttons on Instagram. Go follow Movie Hound on Instagram. Thank you, Jimmy, for being here today. We appreciate it, man. And we'll see y'all in the next episode.
23.
Peace. 23. Peace.
Peace. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.